fractions are numbers or things that you've seen that look something like this, where you have like 3 out of 5, or maybe you have 1 over 2, or 3 over 4. Um, and these here are parts of a whole. Okay, so let's get into to what that means, what the number on the top means, what the number on the bottom means, and how you can use that to divide up shapes as we go forward. So this top number, which would be the three, or the one over on these fractions that I've made over here, this is called the numerator, and we'll get into what that exactly is talking about in just a second. Um, kind of give you a definition for it. The bottom here is called denominator. Okay, and when you're looking at these two things, they do mean some different things. The numerator here means the number of parts being talked about. Okay. And again, I'll show you what we mean by that over here when I draw it on our shape. On the bottom, it means the total parts. Okay. So the number of parts out of the total parts. Okay. So let's show you what that means over here. And we'll use 1/2. Okay. Pretty standard idea. 1 over 2. Or 1 out of 2. Here, if I look at my rectangle, I can go and look here and go, I would need to make it into 2 equal parts. And I'm going to go like this. Doing it freehand. Want to make sure that it's about as close as possible. And now here, if I were to shade this in, this here would be 1/2. Okay. This would also be 1/2 here if I had divided it into 1/2. And if I have two halves together, I have one whole. I can do the same exact thing down here with my circle. I might decide to go like this. It's really important that as I'm going and dividing up my shape, that I make sure that I divide it into equal parts. These parts need to be equal. I can't go and divide it like this because while I have two parts, they're not equal sized parts. Okay, really, really important when we're talking about a fraction. Okay, um, and you can divide shapes into any number of parts. Okay, again, I'll go back here and I'll make this into 1/2 here so you can see that. Again, this would be 1 over 2, and this would be 1 over 2. Okay, we're talking about this 1/2 out of my two total parts. Okay, I can divide shapes again into any number of parts. So let's, instead of doing, for example, 1 out of 2, let's decide to do this one here, 3 over 4, or 3 out of 4 total parts. Again, I have this rectangle and I can decide to go and vertically and divide this in half, and I might divide these other two into halves. So now I've got here these parts. Each of them, when you're drawing it freehand, it's a little bit more challenging, but again, you can tell that they're pretty much about the same size. Here, I could label each one 1 over 4, 1 over 4, or 1/4, as that's called. And here with my 1/4 pieces, I need now 3 of them. So I'm going to go and decide to go and highlight them. And here, if I have 3/4 of the shape, I've got this right here, which is the 3 that are in green. I'm left with 1/4 that is in white. Okay, so this here, again, would be 3/4. This here is my 1/4. If you look at it all together, I'd have 4/4, or one whole. Okay, same could be done down here for my circle. I might decide to go like this, in half, and then go again across here. You gotta be pretty careful that you try to go as straight as possible. Again, do the same idea here, where I might just do this one here, this, and then decide to come down over here, and now I've got 3 out of 4. Okay, I would say this is 3/4, 3 out of 4, or 3/4. These are quarter pieces. Okay, give it a shot as you're working today. Again, this idea of a numerator, the number of parts that are being talked about, shaded in or talked about with any particular problem, and your denominator being your total number of parts that you divided into equally.